Welcome, 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 everybody. We're here to kick off 2025. We have a year that just passed, and we're here to kick off 2025. Um, I'm going to go over a couple of things that I've been hearing about 2025 and the future of immigration, maybe a couple of other issues. But before we start, what I want to do is talk about our get together on the 25th. Um, we're going to have a get together. We will announce the location on the invite page. I'm going to go ahead and place a link today or tomorrow uh, to the invite page so that you can say if you're going or not. Basically, it's going to be at an Airbnb close to, and we have the courtyard and everything. It's going to be close to the Central. So all of you all that are making plans to come in and see us on the 25th, it's going to be from 3 to 6. We made it from 3 to 6 so that if you wanted to eat before or afterwards, or you guys want to get together with somebody, or you meet somebody and you guys want to go to dinner afterwards, then we're right there in the Central. We'll probably have chips and Coke and soft drinks at the event. But I'm really looking forward to it. We have a couple of creators coming. We have a bunch of them that are confirmed. And Gringos Are Us are here, so they can actually augment what I'm saying and kind of help me out here, because I've kind of been in the discussion, but kind of not. I have family still here, actually. They're not leaving till Friday. So I've been kind of busy, of course, for the whole Christmas holiday. But if I'm incorrect, Mark and Gina, let me know. They're here in the house. We have Gringos Are Us in the house. William Stoneman just came in the house from Ajijic. John Kent from La Paz, welcome. Lisa Arias Best. She's here too. Hello. And Blaine, of course, faithful from La Paz. So welcome and thank you guys for joining me today. We have 2025 kicking off. We have a little bit of news, hopefully. Terry Best, hello, Learning. Looking forward to the meeting. How are you doing? Looking forward to meeting you guys real soon too. Um, uh, Hey, Gina, how's it going? Like I said, Gina, if you want to chime in on some of the plans we have for the 25th, but we're going to go ahead and announce the location in the invite page. I'm going to go ahead in my community tab, place a link to the invite page. We have an event page on Facebook, and we're looking forward to seeing everybody there. We have a good amount of people confirmed. Our special guest probably won't be there. Wasn't able to make it, but even then, we're going to have a bunch of people, creators there. I really look forward to meeting everybody, and hopefully, and you can bring your own drinks and bring your own food if you want more soda. But I'm gonna probably go and get some chips and soda and everything else. It's going to be in the Centro, so it should be located. Everybody that's touched base with me so far, they're kind of making plans to stay in the Centro. So that's where we're going to have it. Just keep an eye on the invite page. If you're going, please let us know that you'll be attending. We're using Facebook because we figured that would probably, we were thinking about an email list at first and everything else, but it looks like we're going to be using Facebook because it's the easiest way for people to RSVP. So, and everything else is going as planned. My wife has to go back to Monterrey, so I'm not sure if she's going to be there, but I'll be there for sure. So we're going to talk tonight. I'm going to just kick off the New Year's, things that I've been hearing, things that have been rustling around. I think a couple of things have been finalized, or definitely finalized. And then there's a couple of things that we really don't know. I do know that somebody made a comment on one of my videos about the UMA formula, and I'm going to go ahead and dispel any myths about that. I'm not saying that it's a myth, but okay, next Wednesday, Gringos Are Us are going to release the address on the Facebook event page, also on their live stream too. They're actually going to, excuse me, they're actually going to release the live stream. As far as what's been going on with me, Like I said, I've had company, family. Everybody loves coming to San Miguel, so we are entertaining. Now, one thing that I will say is in between, I bought a new car. And the reason why I bring it up is especially if you're living in Mexico, because you can't get these cars in the United States. But yes, people from the hardcore US people are going to say I'm a trader, but I bought a car called BYD Song Pro. The BYD is made in China. It's a Chinese, hey, dying to retire podcast. It's a Chinese vehicle. We bought it. It's a hybrid. They're very popular here in Mexico, and they're becoming they're starting to take the market. The one interesting thing about the car we bought, literally, it's a hybrid, and it looks like a Tesla. It has screens and everything that you could ask for. It's controlled by an app, does everything maybe except for the self-driving, has a navigation, the whole 9 yards, all for $30,000. You can't touch an electric vehicle. Actually, they make electric vehicles too. It's BYD stands for Beyond Your Dreams. And we can get, from what I understand, 1,000 kilometers off a tank of gas. And then you can also, it's a plug-in hybrid, so I can plug it in and run it in as an electric car and get at least 100 kilometers out of the battery. We're going to install solar panels and say goodbye to our gas bill and our electric bill too. So that's something that we got to, yeah, no way, 30K. Yes, 30K. My sister-in-law was so impressed. She bought the car. The Song Pro is a crossover SUV. Let me pull it up. But she bought the car and it was $25,000. No way. Yeah, no way. That was $25,000. I'm going to bring up the Song Pro. And this is something that, this is the vehicle that we bought in the Song Pro. It's a crossover SUV, and literally it's a plug-in hybrid. You can run in electric mode or hybrid mode or just on the motor itself. And this says you can get 1,001 kilometers with a tank of gas and a fully charged battery. 22.7 kilometers per liter is approximately about 50 miles to the gallon. And 71 kilometers, I was wrong with 100. 71 kilometers is if I run it in electric mode only, which is going to be great because if I run it in electric mode only, I'd like to say hi to Joan Walker. Welcome. Thank you. Nice car. Hey, Jesse, great to see you. The one thing that's great about this is in San Miguel, everything, I could probably run 71 kilometers in a week. So probably an electric charge will last me up to a week. Everybody that I talk to that owns hybrids, well, not BYDs, but hybrids, has been saying that they don't fill up with gas for a whole month. So we're looking forward to it. This car is Mexico was the first in Latin America to get this car. They also make a truck. They're also going to make they also make a truck called the Shark. Right now, the Shark is the same thing. It's a hybrid. Now, this company also makes pure electric vehicles. I think the cheapest one, the bottom of, not the bottom of the line, but the entry level electric vehicle runs about $25,000. It's called that's a beautiful. They're beautiful cars. Literally, I got into it and I felt like I was getting into a Tesla. It's got everything. It's even got a 16-inch screen that rotates, whole 9 yards. Hey, you can even talk to the car. And CMT, you're looking. We're going to look at BYD soon. Yes, it's a great car. Hey, from Buenos Aires, Roberto, how's it going? So you just can't beat it. And their truck, the Shark, is actually a very big competitor to the Ranger Raptor. It actually can do 0 to 60 faster than the Ranger Raptor, Ford Ranger Raptor. And the Raptor isn't a hybrid. This is a hybrid, totally 4x4. And it actually, the only place outside of China, the first place that they actually shipped the truck outside of China was Mexico. Mexico, actually, a lot of these BYD vehicles, the first place they've come in Latin America has been to Mexico. So Hyundai Palisade to Guatemala, then rather get that. Actually, it's a beautiful, beautiful vehicle. We're going to pick it up tomorrow. The reason why I also bring this up is not other than the fact that we're excited to get a new car, and economical, because we have a Grand Cherokee, which we plan to get rid of, and for in favor of better gas mileage and not paying for gas or electricity if we eventually put the solar panels in. One of the things about the purchasing experience is I want to talk about it. And that's why I wanted to bring that up today, is about purchasing a new car. Purchasing a car in Mexico is not the same as the United States. We literally paid for this car. You don't just walk in and walk out with the car like you do in the United States. I don't know how it is in Canada. But even financing takes a while to get approved. You can get financing here. It is at now BYD is giving very competitive financing rates for Mexico. I believe it's 8.8%. We didn't go the financing route, but residents can get financing through BBVA. I think it is. We had a BBVA account. They said that we could apply. But normally, when you buy a car here in Mexico, you buy it outright. They call it a contado, which is you pay cash. But all the paperwork and everything else, it takes a couple of days to do it. Also, we had to get our own plates. The dealership doesn't get the plates for you. So when I get the car on Monday, tomorrow, we're going to drive up. We're going to get our car, and then we have to. When we get the vehicle, we have to come over here to Querétaro, to Guanajuato. We're going to get a special permission. It's sort of like temp tags, but you have to pay for that a special permission. We paid, I think, 1,500 pesos for the 1,500 pesos for the permission. And then we're able to drive it for 30 days and while we get our plates. And I have to come over here in Guanajuato to get my plates. And then you have this thing called the factura. Remember how I was telling everybody you need to get an RFC in order to get the factura. In the factura, you need to save that piece of paper. That's like the title to your car. Now you'll get what they call a tarjeta de circulación when you register your vehicle with the plates. And what's really interesting is it's a very tedious process because we have Nueva León plates, which was from Monterrey, on our Jeep Cherokee. And my wife has to travel all the way to Monterrey to hand in the plates. They call it a baja. So the process of purchasing a vehicle here can be a little bit tedious. But they'll walk you through it. And, hey, Lambden, how's it going? And Jesse, I think I said hello. So this is something that you need to understand, that it's a different process. For example, my sister-in-law, who purchased the car, which is the one right below the Song Pro, and it's also a hybrid. She's financing the vehicle with, I think, 5% down. You usually have to give a down payment. And I can say that she has income from the United States. She's financing the car, and she's putting 5% down, I believe, on the down payment. And the other thing that's really neat about BYD, they give you 2 years. They're giving us 2 years of free service. The service is almost less than $100 every 10,000 miles. It's very inexpensive, but she's financing the vehicle, and it's going to take 15 days before she even sees the car. So if you're planning on buying a vehicle, even if you buy it cash or you finance it, The only thing with financing, it's a little bit harder to get if you're a U.S. citizen and you don't have any established credit in Mexico. I already had established credit in Mexico, so I technically could have gotten. I don't know. We didn't apply for credit, but I could have gotten it, um, which was given to us as an option. But like I said, it's a very tedious process in the sense of, or when you want to sell a car, it can be a tedious process. Uh, Vehicles such as Toyota, I believe Toyota is the one that has shortages here. If you want to buy a Toyota vehicle here, it can be up to a year waiting list. They have waiting lists. Other vehicles, you'll notice when you go to the dealership, they have it. You can't just walk off the lot with it. Literally, they'll order the vehicle, and sometimes it can take up to 6 months to get the vehicle. So it depends on how much of the demand there is for the vehicle or whatever. So just keep in mind that purchasing a car here is very different than doing it in the United States or other countries. Um, and we just experienced that. Now, when we were in Monterrey, we purchased a car a long time back. Same thing, we paid cash. We had to wait several days. Now, they did the plates for us. BYD we had to go to Querétaro because Querétaro is the closest dealership, which is 30, 45 minutes away from us. And we're in a different state. That's why I have to get the plates myself. If you live in Querétaro or you live in a place where there's a BYD dealership, they can usually do the license plates for you. So that's something to keep into mind. That was different. This experience was different for us. Um, and I ran into the old, what we always talk about, names are super important here. Actually, they issued the factura to me. They sent me the factura, and I thought, oh, I'm going to go get my plates yesterday on Friday. And I said, I'm going to go get my plates. And when I took all the paperwork, well, because the comprobante de domicilio, the proof of residence, was in my wife's name, they made me give them my marriage certificate. I have a marriage certificate here in Mexico. We register our marriage here in Mexico. And I had that, and I had the comprobante. Well, apparently, because my wife's name did not match, because her second last name wasn't there. Hey, Alana, Preston of Reveals, how's it going? Because of that, they wouldn't take my application for the license plate. So I need to do it in a different fashion. I'm going to go ahead and uh, uh, offer another one in my name, another proof of residence in my name. But I have to go back next week, and we're going to get the car tomorrow. So these are a lot of the things that might frustrate you. And the reason why I bring this up is those are the things that might frustrate you. I always talk about how a lot of times a lot of people end up moving back. And these are the little things that we're used to in our home country that's different here. And we have a hard time dealing with it because we're used to like driving off the lot. I'm used to just say, hey, I'm going to trade in my car. Even if I were to trade in my car, my wife still has to go to Nuevo Leon to hand in the plates to do what they call a baja. A baja means, baja is to go down, is to take down, or bahad is to get down. Like if you say bahad from upstairs, that means you go downstairs. But you have to get a baja, okay? And the baja is basically turning in your license plate and saying, I no longer own this vehicle. But you got to do it in the main state where you're at. So yeah, it's very, these are processes that can be very frustrating because like I said, we bought our car in Nuevo Leon and now we live in Guanajuato. Um, and maybe it would have been better for us to actually change our plates to Guanajuato when we moved. So those are the little things and those processes that can be very bureaucratic in Mexico that can discourage people. But like I said, if you learn how to deal with the processes and all of that stuff, you'll be just fine. It's just don't get frustrated. That's the secret to living here in Mexico. And those are just little examples because we always talk about people wanting to go back. They can't assimilate to the culture. They can the speaking Spanish may get to the point where I just can't do it. Those are things that are very real and things that do send people back. But also, you need to understand that there's a lot of little processes that may we're so used to in our home countries of comfort and convenience. And sometimes these processes, what processes that we're really used to in our home country that are very easy and simple, in Mexico can become very bureaucratic and complex. Doesn't mean you can't get things done. It just means you have to have patience. Like I said, I went down to the driver's license, not the driver's license, the plate office here in San Miguel de Allende. I spent a whole hour so that, guess what? I'm sorry, your name doesn't match. You need to come back. So I spent, no, actually, it wasn't even an hour. It was probably about 2 to 3 hours of our time by the time we got there. Then we registered, we had an appointment, and then I waited another hour for them to tell me, come back with the correct paperwork. And that's very, very, very common here. So let just be aware. Um, and Anna has a question here. I'm going to go ahead and answer that. Is it safe driving from San Miguel to Guanajuato and Querétaro? Anna, as far as driving, we go to Querétaro all the time. I live on the highway to Querétaro from San Miguel. It's safe as far as security wise. You're good. I wouldn't drive down that highway at night. Also, there's another way to get to Querétaro from San Miguel. Just don't go the Celaya route. Go the actual 111 if you want to go to Querétaro from San Miguel. The only thing with that road is it's it's a 2-lane road. People don't tend to respect the sometimes people just decide I'm going to pass and I'm going to go in the oncoming lane, even though there's oncoming traffic. You have to be very careful. Also at night, I wouldn't, not for questions as much for security. I think at night for questions of safety. There's a lot of people that were walking on the side of the road, vehicles that are driving because it's the country between. There's a lot of little communities. A lot of people don't have lights on their car or backlights. You go over to the shoulder, you might have a motorcycle riding in the shoulder without any lights. So it's very, very dangerous as far as safety. I wouldn't drive back and forth. As far as going to Guanajuato, we have driven to Guanajuato several times from San Miguel de Allende, only do it during the day. Number one, it's kind of out in the country, and you don't want to get stuck out in the middle of the night. And it can be dangerous safety-wise at night. During the day, there's a lot of little towns in between and everything else. But during the day, you should be fine, Anna. Just make sure that you go during the day. And if you come back, what we do in Guanajuato is if we actually want to stay there or go there for a while, the whole day or whatever, we'll actually spend the night and come back the next day. Or we have some friends that live close to Guanajuato that we actually go to visit out in the country in one of those little towns. And we haven't been there in a while. But we actually make sure at 4:00, hey, we got to go. We got to go before it starts. So that's what we end up doing. So Querétaro, only 30 minutes away from San Miguel, no problem. So you should be fine. Lamden, I feel like a factura is more like an invoice rather than a receipt or a bill. Yes, it is an invoice. Actually, Lamden, I use the factura when I file insurance claims. It's an official invoice from the tax authority, basically. Let me see here. Hey, Mark, is two travelers in Mexico that can't spell his name right? LOL. Yeah, Gina, DMV is easy in Penn because there's so many of them. LOL, it's true. Lots of rural country in Pennsylvania, so they have several locations that do every DMV, usually not a long wait. DMV in North Carolina is a nightmare. Well, you're going to find here, for example, like I said, uh, and then there's no uniformity. And the reason why I bring up what you're saying, Gina, there's no uniformity in the way different places handle driver's licenses, license plates. Now, we were just talking about this when my wife does the Baja, the of the plates. Um, when my wife does the Baja, when we have the plates already turned in, uh, we don't know if Nuevo Leon does the electronic version of the notice or if they actually give a physical version. Because some states only give a physical version, others give an electronic version, and depending on what state you're in, like the electron, even if you have a copy, it's not valid unless you have the original one. So there's a lot of differences, um, and so. Uh, Jesse, just joined. Let me see, let me go back to the BYD. Just joined. Hey, Ernie, is it made in Mexico or China? Actually, Jesse, the BYD is made in China, and it's imported here. Now, here's the catch: BYD is getting ready to make a plant. It's going to open in February here in Mexico. So the BYD, a lot of the models will be actually made here in Mexico. So, but so that's the thing. Like I was talking about, Gina, that when we were talking about the DMV, for example, driver's license here in San Miguel, if you have a current driver's license, not a problem. You just go, you hand in your driver's license, even if it's a U.S. driver's license, and they give you a new one. If you don't have a current driver's license, you have to take you got to take a driving test, and you also have to take the written test, just like you do in most DMVs in the United States. But here's the catch: it's all in Spanish. So, and then in other places like Monterrey, I actually had to take the written test and the driving test. So I think in La Paz, and actually Laura is joining us from La Paz, a BCS. I believe BCS and La Paz in that area, because it's very Americanized. Same thing as San Miguel. I think you can get your driver's license really easy, because I think someone was telling me that the driver's license was no problem. You just show them your regular driver's license. And so it's so that's the big thing, um, there as far as bureaucratic processes. So you just really need to keep that in mind. Terry is we're spending 3 days in San Miguel de Allende. Any recommendations on restaurants for breakfast and dinner? Actually, Inside Cafe, which is in the Central, Inside Cafe which is what it's called. Great for breakfast. Dinner. Let me tell you something, Terry. Uh, San Miguel de Allende is basically international dining cuisine. There's everything here. It depends what you're hungry for. We're going to be on the 25th close to the Central. So I'll probably be able to recommend a couple of restaurants for dinner on the 25th, on the evening of the 25th. There's a really one of my favorite restaurants next to the cathedral, and it's an actual outdoor, and you're actually sitting right next to the cathedral. Is Atrio. Atrio is it's one of the more expensive restaurants, but we love that place. Then there's just a lot. Mamma Mia's Pizza. There's Italian. There's everything. This is a worldwide, as far as culinary. This is you can find any kind of food here, and there's a bunch of great places. Inside Cafe, I would say is probably your best bet for breakfast. They also have a famous grilled cheese sandwich that they serve there, but that's for lunch. So. So that's where if you, I'll tell you what, if actually I think Lisa, uh, it best your wife Terry is on my friends list or whatever on Facebook, or she sent me messages before. You guys send me a message and I can give you maybe a list of a couple of restaurants. But it pretty much in the Central, let me tell you, pretty much Los Milagros is a good restaurant. Anywhere you eat in the Central is a great place. Most of the restaurants, you can't go wrong. Literally, my wife and I, when we go to the Central a couple of times, we'll just look inside and go, "Can we see the menu?" And then we go inside and try it out. And we really haven't been disappointed. Maybe one or two restaurants we've been disappointed, but the rest of them are just. I can't stress how great dining is here. um, Laura, greetings today from La Paz. I agree that the observation when we are in the USA for many years, we forget that each country has its own bureaucratic system and custom. We must adapt. Yes, Laura, we must adapt. And the thing that I try to explain to people is uh, just, I'm not saying just deal with it. I know it's frustrating. But once you start dealing with it and dealing with it and dealing with it, it becomes normal. Just like you're so used to the comfort in the United States, it becomes normal. So, what has happened to me over 7 years of living here is I've become adaptable to the situation. I've adapted. So, yeah, I was frustrated. I can't walk out with my plates. But at the same time, the thing that's great about it is, well, oh, well, I'll get them next week. No stress, no worries. I'll get them next week. And I'm not going to be, here's the thing. If I don't have my plates, I have a permission for 30 days. It's not going to kill me. Um, not only that, but if I have to do the process next week, I do it on my own terms, on my own time. And I made a trip to the DMV. It's not really the DMV, but the license plate place. I know where it is. I go back for my second appointment. If they send me back home again with a lack of another document, I get the other document and I go back. I know it may sound frustrating, but I'm not to the point where, oh my God, this is so bad that I need to go back to the United States. No. But I'll tell you what, when you first get here and you get overwhelmed by that bureaucratic process, you might oh my, I can't live here. I can't deal with this. I can't deal. And that's the problem is when you start getting that attitude is that's when you want to start going home. I'm not saying that you're not going to want to go home, but that's what helps you adapt a lot better to living here in Mexico. So, um, oh, Alana, uh, Alana, that New York is getting better. See, and like I said, you're probably, even in New York City, and I brought that up here, Alana, even in New York City, probably the process is less bureaucratic. Even though New York can be pretty bureaucratic, it's going to be less bureaucratic here. So, Anna, how do you get a Mexican driver's license? And is there upper age restrictions? We have a Florida one. Actually, Anna, it depends on what state you're in. Most of the places, for example, Baja California, Ajijic, San Miguel de Allende, Puerto Vallarta, if you live in those areas, you're going to find, if you live in those areas, that the driver's license restrictions are going to get one are going to be a lot easier. If you go to Monterrey, where there's not a lot of Americans or whatever, then you're going to find that the process is a little bit harder. You have to take a driving test and everything else. Most places, such as, depending, like I said, San Miguel de Allende, Querétaro, let me see, what other states? Baja California, Puerto Vallarta, Merida, Cancun, Rivera Maya. It's a little bit easier to get your driver's license. Basically, you just give them your Florida license. One thing that Guanajuato does, which is where I live, is they'll take away your driver's license. You have to hand in your U.S. driver's license. What a lot of people do, they get a copy of their U.S. driver's license and then they just give them the old one. Other people do the same thing for whenever they get a ticket from the cops. If the cops say, hey, I need to take your driver's license, and so you make sure you pay the fine, they give away their U.S. driver's license. I'm not advocating that, but I know that's what a lot of people do. I have a Monterrey driver's license or Mexican driver's license already, so I'll be forfeiting that to Guanajuato. And that's one of the things that I've been needing to do. So it depends where you're at. Some places you have to take an actual driving test, your parallel park and the whole 9 yards. And there is no upper age restriction. I mean, my in-laws have a driver's license, and they're up there in age. Um, and pretty much once you get it, you just renew it every so often. Here's the only thing that there's a catch to a lot of the driver's licenses here in Mexico. If you let it expire for whatever reason, you have to go through the whole process of taking the test again. So that's one thing to make sure that you uh, make sure that you don't let it expire. So let's see here. Oh, Monas. Yeah, I haven't. Oh, Mamas. Yeah, I haven't been there. Gringos are us, but they have a lot of good places to eat here. Yes, John can verify that there's no written test in La Paz. Um, and like for example, too, for Guanajuato, I have to get a medical exam, but you just go to the Red Cross, and it's a literal, how are you feeling? Okay, and they write. I mean, you pay a couple of like 100 pesos or whatever, 200 pesos for the exam, and you get a card or certification that you're medically okay. Uh, Driver's license in Cancun, Ana. As far as Cancun, from what I understand, you should be able to get in Quintana Roo. You should be able to get a driver's license pretty easy. There are facilitators that will do the driver's license process. But here's one thing that I'm going to mention. Um, and I'm starting to see this with expat services. I'm not trying to put down any expat service, because an expat service, or someone that's like a facilitator, facilitator, period, because they can facilitate getting your driver's license, your license plate. The, the amount they charge is all up to you, how much you're willing to pay for the convenience of not having to worry about it. For example, I have a facilitator that helped me get my license plates, and I'm also have a facilitator that's going to help me get my driver's license. Now, here's the thing. I have a facilitator that's a local guy that doesn't cater to Americans. He caters to Mexicans, mostly Mexican nationals. And I'm paying a very low fee compared to one of the very famous facilitators here in San Miguel. Now, here's the thing. That famous facilitator, she's very good at what she does. She has a whole team that does this. You're going to get great service, but you're also going to pay 3 times the price. But 3 times the price may be worth it for you to have an English speaker who can get all your paperwork together and just take you to the driver's license office and say, here it is, here you go, and pretty much walk you through the process. That may be worth your time. Now, if you speak Spanish, then you may be able to find a local facilitator that's only going to charge you 100 or 200 pesos compared to 1,000. Okay. So it all depends. Now, let me put it this way, 200 or 300 pesos compared to 1,000 in US dollars is 25, 30, 40, 50 bucks. So if you're willing to pay the 1,000 pesos or 50 bucks, I don't remember what the prices are for this famous facilitator here, but you pay for the service. And I always recommended facilitators for immigration processes. But like I said, it's what you're willing to pay for the convenience. Yeah, Blaine, same thing here, and same thing. Blaine is from the Baja California area, and he's also talking about. He just showed his Canadian driver license. They gave me a driver's license and told me to keep the Canadian one filled out, a little paperwork, and that was it. Actually, here in Guanajuato, though, Blaine, they take away your license. You have to hand it in. You have to give it to them, and that goes for U.S. Driver's licenses too, for whatever reason. Um, but it's the same thing here in San Miguel. But I actually got my license in Monterrey, and I had to actually take the driving test, everything, the whole 9 yards. So there, it can vary from where you go, from place to place. Yeah, you're right, Alana, that every place has their different processes. It's the same here. The only thing that you're going to find in the US is a little bit more transparent. Like when we were talking about buying a car. When I buy a car in the US, even if I brought it from Phoenix, Arizona and it has Arizona plates, I just have a title, I sign it over or they sign it over to me. And the next thing you know, and the dealer gets your plates for you, which can be done here in Mexico too. I mean, my last car came with its plates and everything. But that's because I was in Monterrey. But like I run into a situation. Querétaro's only 30 minutes down the road. It's only 40 miles down the road. Uh, but I'm in a different state. Querétaro's totally a different state than Guanajuato, where I live in San Miguel de Allende. So you can imagine trying to get plates, even though I'm down the street. It's kind of like it's sort of like basically I lived in Texas. Okay, I'm in McAllen, but I go to San Antonio, not even San Antonio. I go to Brownsville from McAllen, and now I'm in a different state. So now I have to do a different process. So that's what can kind of get into your way. Lisa, oh, you're staying. Yeah, I think you had mentioned that, Lisa, that you're staying in the central. You're going to find literally, let me tell you, pretty much any place you go in. A lot of the restaurants are like little haciendas. Anywhere you go in San Miguel, you're going to find that the food is excellent. I, uh, so, and gringos are mamas. Actually, gringos are us. You have me looking for some steak here. Terry. Oh, you're going to have a well, don't worry, Terry. You can make up for it. He says, so you're telling me the diet is going to be crap on that weekend. Well, yeah. Tell me, let me tell you, you're going to enjoy it. Trust me. Yep. Isn't that the best part of being retired is doing things on your own time? Yes, dying to retire. And that's the thing. Exactly. Now that I'm retired, I have been able to take that and say, you know what, I'm going to do it on my own time. Look, I don't have anything to do Monday or Tuesday, or I do. Tomorrow I have to go pick up a car. We're going to I'm doing, helping do some community service Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays. We have a dog shelter here, and they ask for volunteers to walk the dogs, and we're going to start doing that tomorrow. So I have to wake up in the morning, go do that. Then I got to do my medical for my driver's license. But the thing is if I don't get it done, there's always Tuesday and always Wednesday. Now we do have a couple of things scheduled on Tuesday. I'm very busy. Believe it or not, I'm very, very busy. And I even haven't had time to do very many videos lately because we always have something that we're doing. But eventually, I'll get it done. And what you're going to find difference is when I was living in the United States is I got to get it done. I got to get it done. I got to get it done tomorrow. I got to get it done today or yesterday because God forbid I'm stressed out. Now, and here's the thing. A lot of people come to Mexico with that kind of attitude or disposition. And the problem is with a lot of people that come to Mexico and live here thinking, oh, I'm going to live here cheap and everything else. When they start seeing and they have that disposition that I got to get it done tomorrow, I got to get it done yesterday and everything else, they start finding out that it's not so easy to get it done tomorrow. And a lot of people just give up. And there's no reason to give up. You just basically say, okay, how do I adjust to this? And you should be fine. Um, Trust me, 90% of this is living in a relaxed environment. And sometimes the hardest thing to do is learn how to relax when you've been in an ambient where everything is a hustle, 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 hustle all the time. And it even happens here in Mexico because you'll find people from the north are very why like get it done, get it done, get it done. Why aren't you on time? Blah 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 blah. We're talking about the north of Mexico, and a lot of people have a hard time dealing with that. But a lot of people are that way because of the ambient. So you bring a person from the north, you bring them down to the central part of Mexico, and they're just about to have a fit because they're used to things getting done right away. Same thing as the United States. You come down here, you're used to getting things done right away, or you're used to being just stressed out because if you don't do it, the world's gonna fall apart because that's the way you've been raised or you've been conditioned back in the United States. Then all of a sudden your world's falling apart here in Mexico too. And so you need to make it to where your world's not falling apart. And when you find that peace, trust me, it's the best feeling in the world. Anna, Ernie, we were making us want to look at San Miguel and Guanajuato, although we like Cancun weather. Eh, San Miguel's great, Anna. You need to spend a little bit of time, like I said, and you'll be fine. Uh, and you can decide between the two. But the one difference here is it's drier. Your altitude is higher. We do sometimes have to adjust when we're coming from sea level and come back home. Um, but the weather is San Diego all year round. Right now, I don't think it's gotten too cold, and it hasn't gotten too hot during the day. I'm in a long sleeve shirt, and I wore the long sleeve shirt all day long, and I'm fine with just that. Maybe a light jacket here and there. When it gets a little bit colder, I have, I guess, jackets with the lining. So it's beautiful weather almost all year round. um, Laura, thoughts on businesses at high tourist areas in Mexico? 2 weeks ago in Ensenada and now in La Paz, some businesses give the ticket total in US dollar and in Mexican pesos. Laura, one thing I am going to tell you about areas like Cancun, La Paz, BCS, all those areas, you're going to find, excuse me for just 1 second. Let me mute the microphone because whenever I drink it, somehow the microphone picks everything up. I got this. This is a copper bottle. We just got back from Morelia, from Pátzcuaro, and we just went to a little town that all they do is make copper, stuff in copper, and I got a water bottle in copper. Um, but one thing, Laura, about high price, what you're going to find, and here's the thing that you need to be careful of, in BCS, in Cancun, in all of those areas, is that usually their exchange rate, okay, for example, is usually like 18 to 1, 19 to 1, instead of the 20 to 1 or 21 to 1 or whatever, close to 21. You're going to find that when they say, oh, US dollars, that's $50 in US dollars, but they're really trying to get more money off of you. What we always do is we pay in pesos. We insist on paying in pesos. We do the conversion. And if the conversion doesn't come out to US dollars, the same amount, the same thing you need to be careful with, Laura, in these tourist areas is usually when you use a credit card, and usually you have to be very cognizant of this, is when you put your American credit card in there, it'll actually give the option to charge you in dollars or to charge you in pesos. Always tell them to charge you in pesos. The problem you have at some restaurants, they see it's an American card and they just push one for US dollars. And you end up with an exchange rate of 17 to 1, 18 to 1, instead of the 20 to 1. If you tell them to charge you in Mexican pesos, the bank will charge you at the bank exchange rate. It might not be what you're used to with Wise, might be a little bit lower, but you're going to get the best exchange rate when you actually tell them to charge you in pesos. And usually you ask them the price in pesos. And then if they say, well, how much is it in dollars? If you look at the price, you go to, I use XC currency. Okay, they're charging me $20, but if I pay in pesos, I'm paying 15. And that happens in those areas. So just be very careful. That's one of my things. Same thing at an ATM machine. I always tell people to do this. Never accept the exchange rate when they say, and decline it. They make it sound really bad because they'll say, oh, are you sure you want to decline it? Because you know that the exchange rate could be different. Don't worry about it. The exchange rate that they try to offer you is always 10 times worse than if you just say, give me pesos, and I'm not going to accept the exchange rate. So, and most hotels, Laura, in those areas will tell you this is the exchange rate. Actually, at the hotel, it'll tell you you can pay in dollars, but this is what the exchange rate that we're offering. It's usually like, if it's right now, it's 20 to 1, 20 something to 1, 20.8, 20.7, 20.5. Usually, if you go to Cancun, they're usually offering you at the hotel 19 to 1. So that's probably you're going to, and if you pay in US dollars, usually that's the exchange rate, or 18 to 1. They usually post it there at the hotel. They won't post it at most stores, but it's very common in Cancun, Cabo. They list everything in dollars. Here in San Miguel, it's not as much, but they'll usually tell you. Most of the big tourist areas will even, if they see you're American or they see that you're speaking English, right away, we take dollars, we take dollars, we take US dollars. But you just need to be very careful about how much they're getting you for. Now, if you see the price in pesos, like, okay, how much in pesos? That'll be $10. Okay, how much in pesos? That'll be 150 pesos. Okay, 150 pesos is less than $10. 200 pesos is $10 if we use 20 to 1. Okay, but what if they say 300 pesos and then I'm paying $10, but 350 pesos or 300 pesos is maybe 15 or 12 or 13 or $14? Well, then maybe I'm better off paying in dollars. But that usually doesn't happen. But that's where you have to kind of be cognizant of what's going on. I want a facilitator to teach me everything from a trip to the mercado to how to pay my bills to what the good hospitals to use in case of badness happens. Jesse, the facilitators, mostly what you can do is probably find a local person that'll probably help you do all of that stuff. Probably the best thing is to ask other individuals of who would be good to do all of that stuff. But usually facilitator services are usually for most legal processes. For example, your immigration paperwork, getting your driver's license, getting license plates. Some of the bureaucratic processes that are kind of hard, those are when you want to get a facilitator. What you're looking for, Jesse, is a little bit more of a tour guide. Find somebody that is good, can speak English. Depending on where you live, they'll charge you $100 for the day, and they'll take you everywhere, show you everything, tell you how to, do whatever you need to do, and they'll usually help you. Okay, John, would you recommend a facilitator in wanting to get married here in Mexico? As far as wanting to get married, I'll tell you what, John, not a lot of facilitators facilitate marriages, like I said. But if you want to get married here in Mexico, it's sort of like pretty much in the United States, you have the justice of the peace. Here, we have notarios that you can actually, you have to go to the registro civil. Registro civil is kind of the equivalent to the, I don't know, the registro civil means the registry. And you can actually get married at a registro civil. Registro civil, they're government offices for the state where you're in, and you can go there and ask to get married. And they have I don't know how to explain it. It's kind of a notario or a judge that'll marry you. They'll do the paperwork, and you should be fine. Now, I do know that some facilitators might offer that to help you out with that, but I don't have any particular facilitators. The other thing about facilitators, John, it all depends on where you want to go. For example, I couldn't tell you the best facilitators in Baja California because I haven't really dealt with them, but I could tell you the best facilitator here in San Miguel de Allende. It's the same facilitator. The one I recommend is always the one that's the most expensive, but she's also the best. When I talked about this facilitator that's very popular, it's kind of a love-hate relationship with her because she's very expensive. Her reputation is a little bit overstated, but at the same time, she deserves the reputation that she has because she's the best. And maybe it's gone to their head a little bit, and maybe they're a little bit more arrogant. This facilitator is, but at the same time, she's earned her arrogance, and she also is probably the best source of information on the internet. For everything Mexico. Actually, she wrote a book along with another author that's called the Move to Mexico Bible. So, and like I said, for me, utilizing her services to get a driver's license, well, I can speak Spanish, and I found somebody that charges a quarter of what she charges. But then remember, I speak Spanish, and I'm dealing with a local facilitator that does stuff for local people. Not everybody, for example, the facilitator I'm using doesn't speak English. And I understand the processes in Mexico a little bit better than someone just getting here. So if you're just getting here, you don't know Spanish, you don't know anything, you're going to have to pay more. And that's why I don't put down her services, because, yeah, she's more expensive, but you get what you pay for. She's the best. So, that's just one of the things that you have to, and that's another thing that I always talk about. Don't skimp on paying a facilitator. You're going to find a lot of times here that, there's 50 facilitators vying for your business. Trust me, not necessarily all the time is the cheapest price the best deal, and not all the time is the most expensive price the best deal. So you need to look at the reputation of the facilitator. If you're looking for a facilitator in immigration, the best Facebook group to get in, there's a Facebook group called Getting Residency in Mexico. It actually is run by a facilitator, but of course, if you don't live in that facilitator's area, there's a lot of facilitators that are in that group that can help you out. So that's a pro tip there. So. Yeah, Anna, you're correct. I had heard that Guanajuato City is safe, but not Guanajuato State. Yes, Guanajuato. I'm gonna preface something here. I don't want to. I am very big into security and everything else. So I'm going to kind of sound like I'm contradicting myself. Guanajuato happens to be, okay, Anna? Now, wait for it. Guanajuato happens to be one of the most violent states in the whole country of Mexico. It's up there in violence. Now, you're sitting there saying, well, then you live in San Miguel de Allende, so you live in the most violent state. Yes, I do. But San Miguel de Allende is very insulated from the violence. For example, there's a little town called Celaya that's just down the street, like Querétaro, 30 minutes away. You don't want to go there. There's another town called Salamanca, a very small town. You don't want to go there. Same thing with Guanajuato City. Fine in Guanajuato City, you're insulated. The minute you go outside of Guanajuato City, that's why I talked, Anna, about not driving at night. Most of the cartels on the roads from Guanajuato City to San Miguel, they patrol those roads at night. Not only that, but they're desolated roads. So that's why I told you, going to Guanajuato, you don't want to drive at night because of security concern. Querétaro, not a problem, because you're going to the state of Querétaro. Literally, it's 30 minutes down the road. But you don't want to drive down that highway at night for safety reasons. Okay, so yes, is Guanajuato State? Yes, the statistics of Guanajuato State, as far as violence, is one of the most violent in the country of Mexico. But it all depends. Just like we talk about the state of New York. I use New York too. You go into the city of New York, and the crime rate in the city of New York, it may be out the roof. But you leave outside the city and you go upstate New York, you're in the country. So it's all relative. But could the stats of the city of New York make New York State one of the most violent states? And I don't know the statistic, so I'm not going to say it is. But if you have so much crime in New York City, that crime rate is going to translate to state crime rates, and it's the same thing with Guanajuato. So you got to be very careful. The thing with Mexico, and I'm talking, Anna, about security and safety everywhere because we have this kind of, as expats, we have this idea of, oh, as long as you're not with the cartels, you don't have a problem. And that's taking it too lightly. Okay. You always have to take security very seriously here. It's a matter of knowing which neighborhoods to go and where, what to do. That's really, don't drive at night. I'm only going to go down this road. What kind of reputation does this city have? You should be fine in the city of Guanajuato City. It's just getting there and coming back from San Miguel. That's where you're going to have some issues. So, and I'm not saying you're going to have issues, but what I mean by issues is that's where you're going to want to make sure you're safe. Um, John, thank you. I like your attitude about adjusting. Yeah, exactly, John. You have to actually, and I don't know if I'm pronouncing your name right, but you do have to adjust, and that's one of the things. But here's the thing: just give it a little time. We weren't comfortable, and I hate to say this, but I was not 100%. My wife wasn't. She's from Mexico. She was born and raised in Mexico. She wasn't 100% after living in the United States for years and being a U.S. citizen too. She had a hard time adjusting just as much as I did because it's different. And change is not easy. Change is very hard. This is one thing that I tell everybody, and I learned this through my martial arts career. Uh, Change is uncomfortable. Okay, we always talk about this in jujitsu. I always use jujitsu as an example. We always talk about this in jujitsu. Change, when you change your routine, when you change things, it's hard. It's hard to accept. Change is one of the hardest things in human nature. But once we accept change and embrace change, that's when we can progress. That's the same thing in jujitsu. Okay. When you learn a technique, you're not going to perfect the technique. But when you start to practice the technique, you start to embrace the technique because some techniques are very uncomfortable or maybe even hard to perfect. And you get frustrated because you can't do the technique and it's hard and you keep getting beaten up, or you try to do the technique and it's always getting countered. But what happens in jujitsu is once you embrace that, you embrace the toughness, the hardness. It's one of the most complicated martial arts. But once you start embracing those things, that is when you see progress. And that's the same thing with moving to Mexico or human nature in general. Gina, the perfect example. I still have to work, but I've never been so relaxed as I am in Mexico. The constant U.S. hustle is real. Going with the flow in Mexico is very rewarding in many ways. And you're absolutely right, Gina. As long as you embrace it and you give it some time. It took me a year to 2 years to really say I'm never going back. From I don't know, this was better in the United States or this was better here, to about a year later, no more. Ah, and Anna, I need high speed internet for work. Fiber optic is San Miguel, Guanajuato. Okay. I'll speak from personal experience, Anna. I have fiber optic coming into my house right now. I have 1 gigabit. I think it is, yeah, 1,000 megabits down and 300 megabits up on my. You're looking at me through a fiber optic internet connection right now as we speak. So I hope that answers your question. Now, not all the neighborhoods in San Miguel have fiber optic, but most of them do. Most of the newer ones do. So that's, you just need to ask whenever you're looking at a house or a place to rent, if you're going to rent, do you have fiber optic internet here? They also have cable and DSL here, but and it's through Telmex. We have there's another company here, and it's throughout Mexico called Total Play that also offers fiber optic. And you should be fine in both Guanajuato and San Miguel de Allende, and in Cancun also. Most of the places are fiber optic. All right, Lisa, 2 years of planning, we finally moved to Puerto Vallarta on Tuesday. So excited. I'll tell you what, Lisa, we still need to go to Puerto Vallarta. We're close. And you're coming up from Puerto Vallarta now on the 25th. But definitely we're going to make it down there. And I'm so happy for you that you're going to do it. And you're going to love it here. I'll tell you what, Puerto Vallarta has a really good expat community. And you're so close to, you're in the central part of Mexico, so you're close to a lot of things. You're going to have a lot of fun. I guarantee it. Like I said, just be ready for the adjustment. It took me a little bit of time to adjust too. Anybody that tells you, anybody, I don't care if it's YouTube, even me, I'm telling you on YouTube, the moving to Mexico is the best decision I ever made. But don't let anybody tell you that it's easy, no problem. Yeah, I could tell you it's no problem. I navigate everything fine. But like I said, it took me several years to adjust. It took me knowing the language, knowing the system. All of those things make me a little bit more comfortable than other people. But if you are willing to open up to that change and willing to adjust, you'll be fine. And it'll be the best decision you ever made. But don't let anybody say, it's the best decision I ever made and it was so easy. No, that's not the way it works. And I don't talk about it not being easy in the sense, I talk about it being easy, not easy in the sense that it's a change and you have to adjust to the change. And sometimes changes, we're human beings. Human beings don't like change. As a matter of fact, even as you get older, if you've noticed older people, they don't like change. They don't like their routine being disrupted. So we're all creatures of habit. And what's happening to you when you change and you don't like it, that's a natural feeling. It's nothing wrong with you feeling that way. It's just how you adjust is what's important. Yeah, Gringos R Us. Actually, you probably Gringos R Us were in a fiber optic area. Actually, there in Querétaro, you probably have fiber optic. There are several plans to choose from. I have a 1 gig connection, but they have everything from 100 megabits all the way. Actually, I think we had to downgrade our internet in Monterrey, and it's like at 70 megabits per second, just to keep it connected to the alarm until we finally sign the paperwork over. So, and here's the other thing too, Anna. You can get Starlink here in Mexico, and I have my sister-in-law, her husband works off of Starlink. It works fine. He gets at least 100 megabits up and down. I know a lot of people that use Starlink, swear by Starlink here in Mexico. Now, I don't have Starlink. Because they just don't offer the speeds that I want. I have to upload my videos, and having a 1 gig connection is a lifesaver for me. So that's why I have a 1 gig connection. But if you work or you need that high speed, usually most places with 100 megabits, you should be fine. Actually, Gina, you probably connect to a VPN, your company VPN and all of that stuff. And you probably are fine with 100 megabits per second. Unless you're doing some type of collaborative work and you're a movie producer and you need to download humongous video files. That's some of the stuff too that I have to do. I have to download large files, and something at 100 megabits versus 1 gigabit down, I can usually get a 1 gig file. I'm not 1 gig file, but a big file down in less than a minute, whereas 100 gigs is going to take me 30 minutes. So but you can pretty much get a decent speed here. Terry, Lisa and I are a newly retired couple and are starting to say every day seems like a Saturday being retired. Yep, Terry, every day is a Saturday. Actually, when I first retired, I even forgot what day of the week it was. Laura, I pay in the country's currency in cash. One highway robbery at the bank is enough. Exchange fee is enough. No credit card or debit card used. Yeah, and Laura, that's cash is king here, so you should be good. And as long as they're giving you a decent rate, don't let them rip you off on the exchange rate neither. Even if you're paying in pesos, just make sure you're getting a decent rate. That's the only problem with these tourist areas that want to charge in dollars or pesos. And even when they see that I'm an American, they'll say, "Oh, we accept dollars," or it'll be no. How much is it in pesos? And how much is the best if I pay in pesos? And actually, it's easier for the business if you pay in pesos because they can just deposit in the bank. It's a little bit harder with dollars and exchanging and exchange rates and exchange houses, but they will accept dollars because that's people are just how much dollar, and then they also can make a little bit of extra money by accepting dollars and giving you a lower exchange rate. That happened to us in Progress Ernie. They wanted $20 for a gift. I told them that we lived in Mexico and what was the cost in pesos. It came down to 200 pesos, half price. Exactly. And that's one of the things that you need to do. Is you need to look at and then also they were probably starting at like 300 pesos, but they wanted 20. So you were asking you for exchange rate 15, and then they probably came down on the price to 200 pesos, which you got half price. But at the beginning, probably when you were doing the deal, Gringos R Us, more than likely, they were trying to give you the gringo prices and then also in the dollars, that giving you a worse uh, a worse exchange rate. Any suggestions on how to know where the security concerns are as situations change? Actually, Jesse, the best thing is to keep track of the local news. Most of the, for example, Facebook, especially Facebook, join a Facebook group where you live. And here's the thing, you can even join the Spanish speaking ones because Facebook has like a translator. Even though it doesn't translate 100%, you can pretty much tell what's going on. That's one way. That's one of the things we use. When I used to go to McAllen all the time from Monterrey, there's a group of actually people that travel from McAllen to Monterrey, and they'll even tell each other, how's the highway today? Is it safe? And all that stuff. We used to use that. That is very good. Also, local news is good too. Most places have that now on the internet, you can just put translate and it'll translate an article into English. You can place things into Chat GPT. You can give it the URL and say, please explain this article to me. Those are the best ways to keep track. The other way is just get ingrained in the community. And I want to say, I kind of refrain from saying the expat community because you can get ingrained in the regular community there. You find friends, they'll tell you, even local friends, hey, you don't want to go to this area. You want to stay in this area. And if you feel more comfortable with other, okay, Junior. Okay, John is great. Now I know Junior. But that's what you want to do is the best way is to, and even if it's other Americans or other people that have been there for a while, they'll be able to tell you and give you advice of where to go, where not to go, or find someone local. I'll tell you what, Jesse, if you make local friends, there might be even a local Mexican that speaks Spanish and you guys get along and they'll be able to direct you. So when I say embed yourself, not necessarily, and here's the other thing too, people concentrate too much of, I'm going to stick with all the other Americans because they speak English, or Canadians or Australians because they speak English. That's not necessarily what you need to do. It's what you feel personally. If you get along better with the local Mexican community, great. If you get along better because this individual speaks English and they know and they're Americans and they can relate, that's great too. There's no formula on how to do this. Some people will put you down and say, oh, you only deal with Mexico Americans and you're in an expat bubble. Don't let them do that. That's just, to be honest with you, I hate that because those people are saying, oh, we only do with locals. Well, and somehow they're better than you because they only deal with locals. You got to remember, and I always give this advice, whether if you get along better with locals, you get along better with locals. If you get along better with other Americans or whatever, you get along better with other Americans. What I will say though is that you do need to adjust to the culture. You do need to understand what's culturally right, what's culturally wrong. Those things, yes, because there are some people that stick in that little expat bubble, as they say, and don't want to get out. You still got to be able to get out of the bubble, but there's nothing wrong with living in the bubble. That's all I'm saying. And don't let anybody put you down or bully you because you live in the bubble and you don't live outside the bubble. The problem is some people patronize themselves and somehow they're better than everybody else. This comes down to the same thing when I always get into it with people with the expat versus immigrant. I'm an immigrant. Somehow being an immigrant makes you better than being an expat. You're still the same person. Doesn't matter what title you put yourself on. And I understand, oh, that expat has got bad political connotations and all that. But in the end, it's what you want to call yourself. You're an individual. Don't let anybody dictate to you how to feel, how to act, and what to say, and what to call yourself. And that's just the way it works. And that's what it comes down to, is just making sure that you make friends and you stick to what makes you comfortable. So, if you're Italian, look for other Italians that live here. And there's nothing wrong with that. So, what are your thoughts on La Paz as to safety in general, also the Baja Peninsula to safety? I'll tell you what, Terry. Baja and actually Blink and probably lives in La Paz. Laura's in La Paz right now. I went to Baja. Safety is pretty much. There have been incidents that have happened in that area, but most of the incidents that have happened, I think the last foreigners that had disappeared and they were in an area. They were surfers. They went out in the middle of nowhere. Those are the things that kind of got them in trouble. Unfortunately, they had a tragic end, so I don't want to Monday morning quarterback why it happened to them. But as long as you stick to the main areas and everything, you should be fine. As a matter of fact, when I was down in BCS, the last time I went, I used to say I felt like it was an extension of California. To be honest with you, I felt like I was in California. And La Paz is very safe. You don't see a lot happening there. There's a large foreign community down there. Of course, it's close to California. Yeah, Baja Tijuana might be a little bit dangerous, but there is a lot of Americans that live in Tijuana and cross the border. They rent in Tijuana. They have their house in Tijuana, and they cross the border every day to go to work. So even Tijuana can be, I guess, quasi-safe. I don't know how to explain it, but depending if you know your way around and everything else. Probably I'll say Rivera Maya, now Merida, Yucatan, and Merida is probably the safest in all of Mexico. But BCS, you're going to be fine. In La Paz, you shouldn't have that much of a problem as far as safety. And you don't have issues like cartels fighting as much as you do more towards the Texas end. And then also down towards the central part where they're moving it up to those borders. Usually the Arizona, yes, the California border does have a lot of drug trafficking going on because they're trying to get drugs all over. But you're more violent, more of the violent states on that end towards California are more towards Sinaloa, those states, than it is in Baja. Baja's kind of a different animal. So very Americanized, very. Is there an age when you have to retake your, not that I know of, Anna. I mean, pretty much everybody, my in-laws, they have driver's licenses and they don't have to go back and take it. Not like in the state. I think like in Texas, you, after 75 or something, you have to take an eye test again and a couple of other things. So, and also they can actually determine like, hey, you need another test, or you need to do another driver's test. So, but here, I'm not sure of a state that requires you to do that. Pretty much every state I've been to or lived in has pretty much your license is good as long as you keep renewing it. Now you do have to take a driver's test if you let your license expire. That's in most places. Now, you might not have to. Now, in Guanajuato, that's the same thing. I can show my U.S. driver's license or I'm going to hand in my Monterrey license. But if I let the license expire, and this is what I was told by the facilitator, and the same happens in Monterrey, but I know this for Guanajuato because I haven't gotten the license yet, but they told me, if you let your license expire, then you have to take the test again. Diane Dover slowly retiring to Guatemala, not Mexico. It will be easier for me than her, though she is originally from Guatemala. To me, that is funny, but in a good way. Yeah, actually, Dying to Retire podcast, my wife was a little bit more apprehensive about moving here, I'll be honest with you, than I was. For me, it was an adventure. My wife, it was more, I'm from here. I know how it is. And, I'd rather be back in the States because it's a little bit more comfortable at the time. Now my wife, she's just like me. We wouldn't go back for the U.S. for any reason whatsoever, unless it was like a dire, we had to. But we have no intentions of going back. We love it here. And probably your wife is probably going to love it there too, eventually. I think the problem with most Central, South American, and Latin American countries, people see Latin American countries see the United States as very comfortable, which it is if you have the money to survive there nowadays. But it is a comfortable life. And especially if you come from a Latin American country where it's not a comfortable life, you have to live a little bit of a discomfort, which you still have to if you become an expat living here. So probably Dying to Retire, what your wife has experienced is like, hey, wait a second, I got to the United States and I'm comfortable here. Why do I want to go back to my home country? But I'll tell you what, once she starts dealing with her family, has her family, all of that stuff, she's going to be just fine. She's going to love it there. And actually, once she detoxes from the comfort or the United, I hate to say this, but I always say whenever we go to the United States, we have to detox when we come back from all of the ways of living. Once you detox, it's beautiful. You'll love it. We were in Guatemala not too long ago. We loved it there. We want to go back, actually. So, yeah, actually, Gina, Starlink is very dependent. Yeah, you're right. And also the other thing you have to be careful is rainstorms. The other thing with Starlink, that I will mention is that they cut off for like a minute or like seconds. And if you're using a program, like if I was streaming right now and I got cut off, now YouTube's pretty good. If I get cut off for 10 seconds, it'll try to reconnect. But if you really need to stream, you're streaming movies, now most movies will buffer, so you won't see it, you won't feel it. But I do know that my sister-in-law has Starlink in Monterrey, and they have issues sometimes with meetings. Sometimes during the meeting, she cuts out because and it's not good enough to hold the connection. So that's one of the things that you might want to consider with Starlink. But if you need just a normal home connection, Starlink should be just fine. And Gina, you're on the home mic piece, so I always look like I'm in Kansas City, 150 megs up and down. Exactly. And you should be fine. You should be getting also. And Starlink is also a good backup. That is what we primarily use it for. And actually, the other thing, Gringos, you have Starlink. The other great thing about Starlink is you can take it with you. If I want to go to Monterrey or whatever, you can take it with you, and you can roam. And I think they even have the mini one, which is a little bit slower. I don't think in Mexico it's available yet, but it is a good backup or is a good traveling option if you travel a lot. Jesse, I'm going to Merida Saturday. Any info on what I should do to stay safe there? Actually, Jesse, Merida is considered one of the safest cities in Mexico. You should be fine in Merida. I wouldn't worry about that. Just of course, you want to stay away from the safety issues of might be pickpocketing, those types of things, because Merida is a tourist area. But actually, Merida is considered one of the safest cities in Mexico. So you should be fine. Yeah, and Blaine, exactly. Thank you for that answer. And that goes into what I was saying about La Paz. Um, and this is, and Blaine has a good point, and this has to do with everywhere in Mexico. Use proper street smarts in La Paz, and I'm going to change it to use proper smarts anywhere you go in Mexico, as you would in Chicago, L.A., Vancouver, or whatever that might be. 8:19 p.m. La Paz is American version of Mexico with lots of expats. I have always felt safe there. And that's what I was saying. Like I said, I personally felt like I was in an extension of California. But think about California. You have LA, you have San Diego. The streets of downtown LA may be more dangerous than San Diego. Maybe certain areas of San Diego are not so safe. Maybe you might go somewhere out of town in California and you're totally fine. And that's the same in Mexico. That's one of the things that I need to stress. A lot of it has to do with using your street smarts. Uh, yeah, and also we walked to Central, and they didn't have any issues. So we got on to questions, which I like better than having to explain something or whatever. And a lot of times we get off topic, but I would rather have questions from you guys and you guys interacting with each other, because you guys are real good at answering each other's questions. And this is what I'm here for. I'm just here to facilitate this. But one thing I did want to get done tonight, and I'm going to go ahead before I sign off because we're at an hour already, is a couple of the things that have changed for 2025. Not changed, but a couple of things that might be coming down the pipe. One of the things that has changed, of course, for the year is the new residency requirements for financial solvency. Here's the thing. They've gone up, but at the same time gone down. Sounds like a paradox, right? The reason why they've gone up is because the minimum wage, the minimum wage in Mexico went up by 12%. So technically, of course, the formula is still the minimum wage. Someone made a comment that, another YouTuber suggested they're going to use the UMA formula. Immigration uses the UMA formula already, but you still need to get past the consulate. Okay. And then the other thing is this thing about them going to the UMA formula. That's been a rumor for the last 3 years. And UMA formula means that the financial solvency requirements would be going down drastically. They're not as of yet. They're still tied to the minimum. They're still tied to the minimum wage. Now, here's the thing. They've gone up by 12%, but the exchange rate has gone in the favor of the United States dollar. So what does that mean? That means because before 12% lower, you were at a 17 or 18 when the peso was really strong, at a 17, 18, maybe 19 to 1 exchange rate that the consulates were using. Now the consulates are using more towards 20 to 1 exchange rate. So that means where it would have cost you $4,500 before, it's around $4,000 a month, depending. And I'm just being general here, because every consulate is different. Some consulates do depart from that. Mexico Relocation Guide has part of their free, but they also have a paid version. But part of their free is that they have examples of different consulates. She has it on her Mexico Relocation Guide page, totally free. You can kind of get an idea of what the things are, what the prices are. The immigration fees have gone up, the actual fees for processing your application. The RNE program, also known as regularization, it has changed. It is still going to be implemented. But for example, here in San Miguel, it's been placed on hold. Why? We don't know yet. What I'm hearing from other facilitators is I think they're trying to make it a little more standard. Because one office would accept entries before 2023, another office wouldn't accept one office would accept an FMM only with 180 days expired. I believe they're trying to do is standardize it and send the facilitators the information of what needs to be done. So here's the thing with the regularization or maybe it might be going away, but some immigration offices are on hold. Are on hold. Some immigration offices are on hold as far as the RNE program. So, Anna, I heard a while ago that some cartels were pressuring expats to sell their properties in Ajijic. Was that true? If so, could that spread? Anna, I haven't heard anything about that in Ajijic. Which kind of I can understand. Here's the thing with Ajijic, and I don't know where that came from. Ajijic has got a very large expat population, and a lot of the businesses are owned by expats. As a matter of fact, when I went to Ajijic, out of 3 restaurants I ate in, 2 of them were owned by expats. They weren't even owned by local Mexicans. What I can see, because the cartels do this, they charge a tax to operate a business in their area. This has been happening in San Miguel. Some organized crime will charge what they call a piso. A piso is a tax, and the piso is protection money. Basically, it's a protection racket. Now, I can see maybe expats being pressured in Ajijic, maybe not, or maybe even to sell because they're not paying the protection money. But as far as residents, I haven't heard anything about the residents being forced out or being told to sell their property to the cartel, or if you don't sell the property to the cartel. Now, I can see someone saying, sell your business to the cartel. I can see cartel saying, hey, pay us a tax to operate here. Now, have I heard of that? No, but is it common? Yes. And I wouldn't doubt it if businesses in Ajijic are being shaken down, just like they're shaken down everywhere. The difference is between maybe Puerto Vallarta or San Miguel and Ajijic is that the business is owned by a local person from San Miguel and not an expat. And the difference in Ajijic is most of the businesses, local businesses like restaurants and are owned by expats. So that's where that word might have spread. We've been pressured to sell our business. We've been told that, that whatever for the cartel, but that's basically probably what direction that's in. I don't see that happening. I have not heard of that happening anywhere else in Mexico. And if this is happening in Ajijic, it's the first time I've ever heard of it, Anna, to be honest with you. So, like I said, those fees have gone up, but they've gone down at the same time. Now, here's the thing: if the peso gets strong again, then we'll probably see them go up a little bit more. But that's where we're at with immigration. You do need to have an appointment. They have an appointment system now. They're a little bit more organized. We have a new commissioner that took over for immigration, that took over not too long ago, back in December. And the the exterior relations, the person in head of the kind of Secretary of State equivalent here in Mexico is the same person that was before from the last administration. So I don't see a lot of things changing. The UMA formula, I haven't heard anything other than people saying that, oh, I heard it's going to happen. Another YouTuber said it's going to happen. Well, the truth is the UMA formula is already being used by immigration. If you guys want to know the truth, it's already being, but the problem is immigration is not the one you have to get past to get to immigration. So if you go to an immigration office, they'll probably tell you $3,500 to qualify if you actually ask an immigration agent. But then when you go to the consulate, they're going to say $4,000. And you're going to be like, wait a second, immigration told me 35. Well, they use a different formula. And in order to get to immigration, you have to. And here's the thing about immigration. They changed the UMA formula for financial solvency. But the thing is, if you show financial solvency at the consulate, you really don't have to show financial. And here's the thing. When you renew, you don't have to show financial solvency to immigration. They might ask for your bank statements, but nobody's been denied. And when you convert to permanent, they may ask for your bank statements, but nobody that I know of has been denied. So I don't know why. I don't know why they are using the UMA formula for financial solvency when they're not even the ones that determine your financial solvency per se. But they do have it on paper. So Terry, everyone, have a great week and looking forward to meeting everyone coming to San Miguel. God bless. See you, Terry. And I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. Those are the only new things that I was going to kind of kick off for 2025, because I know exchange rate, we could have gotten into a discussion about the exchange rate, but I'm not going to go there today. And so thank you very much. Let me see here, Jesse, real quick. I'm using a facilitator to get the content next week. He says, all I need is my passport. And yeah, you do need a passport and your credit card. Yeah, he's right, Jesse. The only thing you might need extra is what they call a comprobante de domicilio. And that can be in anybody's name, just a utility bill. If you're staying in an Airbnb, a lot of times they'll print out the utility or lend you the utility bill. Some facilitators already have that taken care of, so maybe they might not ask you for a utility bill, but they'll give you one to present. So you guys have a great night. We'll see you guys on the 25th for those of you that are going to be traveling up. I will be posting the link to the invite page. I haven't really, it is in my Facebook group. Like that invite page link on my Facebook group to keep it up on the top. For those of you that want to keep on, go ahead and RSVP. Make sure you RSVP. I'll see you soon. And thank you very much for your time. I'm going to try to get back to doing videos, but I have, let me see, this whole month, next month, we're going to be in Playa del Carmen. The following month, my son's coming down there and we're going to go to Mexico City in March. So getting back to the videos is going to be a little bit hard, but I am going to keep this thing up of live streams. And the nice thing about live stream versus a video, yeah, a video's 2 minutes long and you can learn how to get your residency or what's the new news or whatever, which is great. But these live streams are what really keeps me going. I usually get 20 to 40 people in the room. You guys are really great at interacting with each other if I can't answer the question or even adding on to my answer. So this is what and I was just talking about this to somebody we were with today. I said, you know what? I don't even want my, everybody wants their channel to grow on YouTube. I'm pretty much at the size I like to be because it's small enough that you guys still get my personal attention and time. If I had 100,000 or 200,000 subscribers, yeah, that'd be great. I have a YouTube button or whatever they call it, a little YouTube plaque I could show off. But the thing is that if I had 100,000 subscribers and I had over 200 people in the room, which I've seen, I couldn't get to everybody's answers, everybody's questions. And this is what's great. With 20 or 30 people, or if I can't answer it, someone else answers it in the room. So we have a great community here. Thank you very much for supporting the channel. Thank you very much for supporting each other. And if you have any questions, like I said, always email me. Some of you that know that you've emailed me, it takes me a while to get back to you. But understand, like I said, I do this as a hobby and I don't do it for And I'm almost sure if I did it as a business and woke up every morning at 8 and worked till 5 on this channel, yeah, I would have time to answer everybody's emails like that. But I don't have total time, but I try to get back to everybody. I try to get back to all the emails that I can. And I'm at info at retiredlifeinmexiconobull.com. And you can email me there with your questions. I can address it here live. Usually I like to address it live instead of writing, because sometimes the answer is a 3-page diatribe or whatever you want to call it. And it's easier for me to do my diatribe online and actually for the rest of you to actually benefit from it. So thank you guys for joining me. And we'll see you next Sunday. I have usually it's Sunday, 7:00. I'll be there this Sunday. We're going to get back onto our kickoff of weekly streams. And if you have any questions, please reach out, and we'll see you soon. And like I always say, until next time, stay safe. And as always, stay informed.